Joe, a big hand. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for that great introduction. Thank you, New Jersey. I love New Jersey. I got a lot of friends from New Jersey. You probably heard of a couple of them. Danny DeVito, Jack Nicholson, my pals. From Neptune, New Jersey, Jack is from, and Danny, I can't remember where, but he's from New Jersey, I know it. Where? There you go. I'll call him and tell him I was in his home state. He'll be very happy. The Garden State is a beautiful state. I've been to Clinton. I've been all over New Jersey. It's a great state. And I'm very proud and happy to be here. And thank you all for coming on this somewhat rainy day. The sun's going to come out in so many ways for us. I thank my friend Lauren for coming. We worked together at Whole Foods for years. A big hand for Whole Foods and Lauren. Wearing lots of green products for years. Not the least of which, shameless plug, my Begley's Best cleaning products. Thank you. Trying to do what Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward did in their very large way with Newman's Own. I have a little company and we give a lot of money away to charity with products that are very good green products. But I'm not here to talk about that today. I'm here to talk about the environment and what we've done and what we can do. For me, it's been a 38-year-old journey. I started in 1970, the first Earth Day. Anybody around back then in 1970? Okay. And it seemed like a good thing to do, to get involved in the first Earth Day. I wanted to do something, so I did. I started recycling, I started composting, I started buying all biodegradable soaps and detergents. I bought an electric car, believe it or not, I bought an electric car in 1970. Yeah, I was crazy to want to buy one. There was somebody crazier than me in Reseda selling them. A guy named Dutch. When I say car, I'm being quite grand. We're talking about a golf cart with a windshield wiper and a horn, okay? It didn't have a steering wheel, it had a tiller. I'm not making this up. They still make them. The company's called Taylor Dunn. They weren't really made for the road. People were driving them in retirement communities. Elderly people were driving them in Sun City or Palm Springs. I was 21 and I went to buy an electric car. The guy thought I was nuts. I think he was right. But I drove it around because I wanted to do something about the smog. I'd lived with this smog through the 50s and 60s, horrible choking smog. I couldn't run from here to the back of the tent without wheezing like this. I couldn't catch my breath. None of my friends could. And we didn't know what it was for a while. We really didn't know. I guess somewhere we knew there was smog, but we didn't know that's why we're having trouble breathing. We had an incinerator in our backyard. An incinerator. We burned our trash. Everybody did in their backyard. We were not scofflaws. Everybody was told to do it. They would come and pick up the tin cans then. There weren't a lot of aluminum cans then. It was tin cans. They'd pick that up, pick up the glass, and the rest you were told to burn. Plastics, anything, just burn it. And that's what we did. And we wondered why the air was dirty. We drove the dirtiest cars. We wondered why the air was dirty. But I wanted to do something. I just wanted to do my part. I knew I wasn't going to change it overnight, but I thought I'd feel better if I did something. And I did. And I did it also for my father. My father was a wonderful man. Anybody remember Ed Begley Sr., an Academy Award winner? A fine actor. He was in a movie called 12 Angry Men. He was in, for Sweet Bird of Youth, he won an Oscar and did a lot of wonderful movies. But he was a conservative, and I am not, but he was a conservative that liked to conserve, and God bless him, I say. And he was a great man. He said, Eddie, never tell people what you're going to do. Tell them what you've done. In other words, walk the talk. Do stuff. Don't just talk about it. Do something. And I was a Boy Scout, and I love the outdoors. And so, you know, I had a great reverence and love of nature because of scouting. And I wanted to honor my dad. So in 1970, I started doing all this stuff. And then something very unusual happened. Right away, as I told you, I felt good. The first Earth Day, I started doing all this stuff. I felt good. Something else happened I didn't count on. I started saving money. I wasn't prepared for that. I thought, oh, I'm going to do this stuff and whatever. I just want to do it. But it was cheap to do all those things because I didn't have a lot of money in 1970. You can look this up on IMDb. Look at what I was doing in 1970. The computer wore tennis shoes for $150. You know, room 222 for a couple $100. And I didn't work much as an actor. I was a struggling actor. My father had sadly passed away in 1970. It was all alone. I couldn't go to him for handout. So whatever I did it on the cheap. Recycling cost me nothing. Composting cost me nothing. I was doing some kind of gardening nearby. I was doing all this stuff very cheap. The electric car was only $950. Now, even in 1970, that wasn't a lot of money for a car. And I did it to do the right thing. What I discovered was shocking to me. I realized it was cheaper to plug the car into the wall. The kilowatt hours were cheaper in 1970 than even 1970 very cheap gasoline, as it is today. It's cheaper today to plug in a car and go 50 miles in an electric car with a kilowatt hour is what you'd pay than to go 50 miles with gasoline. It was the same then, and it was much cheaper to service. There was no tune-up or oil change or fan belt or radiator flush or smog check or valve job. All this stuff I didn't have to do with a car anymore. It was very, very, very inexpensive, so I stuck with it. I stuck with it. And I learned that I could be good to the environment, save money, because I did it in the right way. And that's what my book is about, called Living Like Ed. That's what the show is about, to pick the low-hanging fruit first, to do the cheap and easy stuff. We go in our show to Cheryl Teague's house, and people have a big fat house and all this stuff, but we also go to a lot of small houses, and I remind people that the way I did it in 1970 was to do the cheap and easy stuff first, because I didn't have a lot of money. And that's what we all can do. Not everybody can afford solar panels. Not everybody can afford a hybrid car, something like that. But can you afford a light bulb? Of course you can. Can you afford weather stripping? Of course you can. Can you afford public transportation if it's available near you? In Jersey, in this area, of course it is. Can you afford to ride a bike when weather and fitness permit? Yes, you can. All those things, cheap and easy. Home gardening, home composting, cheap and easy. And if you pick the low-hanging fruit and do this stuff in the right way, the same way I did it. It took me 20 years to afford solar electric. I started in 1970. I didn't buy my solar until 1990. 20 years. I had a network TV show. That's how I could afford it. I couldn't afford it today. I got a reality show. Come on. What are we talking about here? But I put it in 1990 when I had the money. It took me 15 years to afford solar hot water, which is cheaper than solar electric. 15 years of saving and doing all this stuff, I finally could afford to buy as an investment. I wanted to invest some money in 1985. I put it into a wind turbine. I want to do the right thing, support wind power in 85. Another shockaroo, good investment, and put out many homes worth of clean power since 1985. So that's what I want to focus on today, folks, because there's a lie out there that we're going to go broke doing this stuff. We can't possibly adhere to the Kyoto Protocol. We can't possibly clean up the environment. We can't afford it. Ed, I want to do it, but we can't afford the loss of jobs. Are there not jobs making compact fluorescent bulbs, energy-saving thermostats, solar ovens, good insulation, double-pane windows, electric cars, hybrid cars, wind turbines? Of course those are jobs too. Jobs of dignity, green-collar jobs. This is what we have to do, move in this direction, because can we do it? Of course we can. They said it in LA. You can go back to the archives of the LA Times. I assume you can check it out online. I'm going to talk about some stuff today, and that's the beauty. There's many wonderful things about this age, not the least of which is Google search and other search engines. If there's something that I'm saying that you look into it and see from credible sources wrong, please tell me about it, and I won't make that mistake again. But everything that I'm going to talk about today, I've gotten from peer-reviewed studies, people with PhD after the name, Science Magazine, Nature Magazine, National Geographic, NASA, NOAA, people that I trust. And if I get any of it wrong, go to ed@edbegley.com. Tell me where I went wrong and I'll correct it next speech, but I haven't had that happen in a while. And you can go to the LA Times and look at what they said when we talked about cleaning up the air in 1970. We want to clean up the smog. We all want to do it. Ed, I'm with you. But we can't afford it. We'll go broke. Businesses will leave California in droves. We all want to clean up the air. We just can't afford it. People moved into California. They moved into California for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the air got cleaner. Guess what? Business people like to breathe clean air too. What a shock. They want their grandchildren to breathe clean air, their children to breathe clean air. We cleaned up the air because people made money making and selling catalytic converters and combined cycle gas turbines and spray paint booths and all the stuff that we use to clean up the air in California. And it became the model for the nation. And now it needs to be the model for the world. My ride is here. 1 second. Come by in a little while. It's a solar power. Don't worry. It's biodiesel.